So Stegman, what's your backstory? Where'd you where you from initially? What's kind of your career path to get to be the president of the Journal Sentinel?
Well, I'm from Indiana originally. Started out in media in 1995 in Indiana, actually selling direct mail advertising on the streets of Indianapolis. So did that for about 7 years with the company Adva, which is now Velasas, and then moved on to Gannett in 2002. And I was in Phoenix, Arizona for about 10 years at the local property there, which is part of Gannett.
Yeah.
I was the vice president of advertising in my last role there, and then I moved on to a regional role where I was the group vice president of advertising for the West. And the West for Gannett is Indiana West. So it's kind of split the country in half. And for 2 years before this, year and a half before this, I kind of traveled the country working with about 50 of our local newspapers on different revenue initiatives.
Nice. And if did you ever think you'd be in Wisconsin as president of one of Garnett's properties? Were you looking to do that?
Actually, never. Before June of this year, I'd never set foot in the state of Wisconsin,
Really?
Which is kind of interesting. Yeah, June 3rd was the first time I ever even visited Wisconsin, and I just wanted to come here to see if I could live here and see what the city was like, and I loved it. It's been great ever since, although the cold is a little tougher than Phoenix, Arizona.
You did visit at the right time.
I did visit at the right time. They recruited me at the right time.
Yeah, that was a smart move on their part.
Yeah.
So let's touch on the merger. So the JS, why was it a good fit for Gannett to acquire them, and why is it valuable for the JS to be part of that conglomerate, the USA Today, Gannett?
Well, the USA Today network is now 107 newspapers, and one of the things we look at, when we looked at Journal Media Group, it made a lot of sense. One, because it really completes Wisconsin. Us combined with all the northern papers we have 11 papers up north. Other than Madison, we pretty much have the entire state covered from a news standpoint, and that allows us efficiencies. And, a good example, of how we're using those efficiencies. Look at our Packer coverage. We're working with the Green Bay Gazette and their great team, providing probably the best Packer coverage we've had ever, in the state of Wisconsin. And that's because of you have two great newsrooms coming together and working on coverage. The other journal media properties, we had Memphis and Knoxville. We already had strong presence in Nashville and all around the Nashville area, and that pretty much completes, other than Chattanooga, the state of Tennessee for us.
Yeah.
So a lot of it was about creating efficiencies and really making us stronger in the states that there were some properties located. And the good for USA Today, for the journal media and Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, part of the USA Today network, our strategy is, we have 107 properties around the country, which gives us over 3,000 journalists to tap into. So, in Milwaukee, if there's something big happens in Louisville or in Washington, D.C., or pretty much anywhere in the country, we don't have to write about that. We have news we can tap into, content that one of our other sister properties is producing, or the USA Today is producing, and it allows us to focus a lot more on local news and what's going on in the local community with our almost 140 journalists here.
Yeah. And what are the big changes that have happened so far and that we're going to see in the future out of the JS?
Sure.
That wasn't necessarily doing under Scripps or previous ownership.
Yeah. Well, August the 2nd, was kind of a big day in that we relaunched our website, and we relaunched under the USA Today format. And if you were on it pre that, it was a site that really hadn't been changed in many, many years. Lots of ads, content everywhere, and it's organized a lot differently now. A lot bigger, a lot richer video experience. Less ads, so less ads that are jumping in front of you, but a much better user experience when you look at JS Online now from where it was. Now, what needs to evolve with that is, and what that allows us to do is it allows us to really create content that's best fit for that type of format. And so the future will be us putting different type of content online than you're necessarily going to read in the paper. And a lot of times right now, you'll see a story that hits online first. It may hit at 7 o'clock on one day, and then the next day is in the newspaper. So it allows us to really be out in front of news.
Is there a big overlap between your, your print audience and your online audience? Or are they kind of different?
Well, they're similar. That with our subscribers, we have a metered approach with JS Online, which means if you're not a subscriber, you're only allowed a certain amount of page impressions, page views on a monthly basis. So if you're a subscriber and you're given full access, which means you have full access, unlimited access to JS Online. Mm-hmm. So because of that, we definitely have some overlap with that. But a lot of, when you look at 50% of our traffic comes in off of search which is going to be a younger demographic that's coming in based on what they're searching for, and we're the only ones that have that local content a lot of times. So there's 50% there's overlap, but then that other is that unduplicated audience that we bring in through a lot of different ways.
Yeah. And are you guys trying anything new to reach that younger millennial type demographic that you haven't done in the past, but obviously is the future of content consumption?
Yeah, that's our biggest goal, and one of our major goals for 2017 is to create content and create better content around topics that are probably more likely to reach that millennial audience. I say millennial 25 to 35 or 25 to 40, so young Gen X and middle to older millennials that are looking for things to do and looking for entertainment. So a lot of it's going to be, we have a lot of the content, a lot of it's repackaged in the way that audience wants to receive it, but then we also have to figure out how to get them to come into that type of that content, because we have a lot of the content now. The fact is they don't know where to find it, and they're not figuring out how to find us.
Yep.
So that's going to be one of our major focuses is reaching that audience with maybe a little bit of a different content, but also marketing ourselves better to that younger demographic.
Right. And this is your first job as a president CEO, right?
I wish I was the CEO. I don't have that title. Yeah.
Excuse me. Sometime soon. What was the most appealing and exciting thing about this opportunity to you during the recruitment process, or did anything kind of push you over the edge to come here?
Yeah, a lot of it is, this market it's a great market to do business in right now. This city of Milwaukee I think there's a window right now that, the market is, maybe it's not thriving, but it's definitely growing. And it's a good business climate. That, and combined with the fact that, anybody I talk to about the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel brand, it has a strong brand in the marketplace. Granted, newspapers across the country, their brand is not once what it once was, but the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel has a strong brand here. So building on that brand and then expanding into that, that younger demographic from a digital standpoint was pretty appealing. And we've got a great newsroom too. When you look at this newsroom, we've got our newsroom is very tenured, very respected in the community. So we have a lot of great things going for us from a journalistic standpoint in the market.
Yeah. And what have your biggest adjustments and challenges been since you've come on?
Well, I think a lot of it is trying to prioritize what to do first. There's so many opportunities that we have, and trying to really figure out, one, what's our real opportunity, but two, how to organize the troops behind the scene, because there's only, you can put 15 things out and everybody's scrambling around. That's been, I don't want to say it's been challenging for me personally, because I like to do everything at one time,
right?
And I'm not able to do that necessarily. So.
Yeah, I can see that. Coming to Milwaukee as an outsider, maybe in June, and now that you're here and you've settled in, what's surprised you most about the city?
Well, one, the amount of beer that's drank in the city is just amazing. Cheers. Thank you. People definitely like to partake in beer here, but I think the city is it's underrated. I don't think people in Milwaukee realize how great of a city it is. Yeah. They feel like they're in the shadow of Chicago all the time in some of the other cities. It's a great city. Yeah. It's a really fun city. Downtown is amazing. Just the restaurant scene downtown is you have to travel and look pretty hard to find a chain restaurant downtown. You do. Not too many down there, and there's a lot of great dining. It's a small business community, and I don't want to say small, but it's not too tough to really fit in with the business community. It's been great how open-armed people are really to come in and receive and be friends and break bread and talk business. Yeah. What do you think the main things are that the city needs to improve on, or issues that it should address right now? We have a segregation issue, significant. Sherman Park happened. It went away, and I think a lot of people, just hope it doesn't happen again. Really, until we do something about it, and really, there's a lot to do. It's gonna happen again sometime. Right. On the other side of the city, was it the Sheet Temple? Obviously, before you got here, I think that was 2012 or 13. But it's a real issue. And if you look at downtown, I live downtown, and downtown is you travel 3 miles. It's very different 3 miles from downtown than it is downtown. Yeah. So I think we have to. That's an area. And I don't have a solution necessarily, by the way, but I think something needs to be done fix that piece.
You mentioned opportunities. The Journal Sentinel, obviously, very strong legacy, iconic brand in the city. You know, the newspaper industry has declined quite a bit over the last 10 years. What are the main, initiatives you're focused on right now, or, the opportunities you're excited about to kind of evolve and change that trend for you guys?
As people ask me, when I tell people what I do, I tell our staff all the time, when I tell somebody what I do, they look at me like I've just got a bad diagnosis from a doctor, and they ask me how I'm doing, and the answer is we're doing great. When you look at our audience, as a whole, between all of our platforms, print and digital, mobile being a big part of it, our reach has actually grown over the last 10 years. Most people don't realize that. So when we look at the marketplace, we looked at just this week, our reach from a 7-day standpoint, both print and digital, compared to the top TV stations, print and digital. If you were to run, 104 spots a day on the top TV station and be on their website, we still have more reach than anybody in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. So, any single day, any week, our reach is still greater than any other media company. Yeah. And that's pretty big to say. You've got the biggest footprint and you're able to reach people. We say we reach people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I have the ability to get in somebody's home some way, shape, or form. Right. Whether it's whether it is an email, whether it's on JS Online, whether it's through Shop Now, which everybody that doesn't get the paper gets grocery inserts from us on Wednesdays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays in the mailbox. Yep. And then obviously there's our core product, which is the newspaper. So we have a lot of ways to reach people's house. With that, we reach them with content, but we also reach them by connecting local businesses, brands with those consumers as well. Yeah. So, our future is continuing to figure out ways to grow our audience through a lot of digital platforms and products. Yeah. So, from a marketing and branding and positioning standpoint, is it a challenge, because you have these different mediums that all have different demographics? Yeah. There's going to be a different one reading it that's going online, that's going to get the grocery stuffers. And is it tough to change the messaging while staying consistent to the brand? Do you have to alter the way you speak to those demographics? Well, yeah, I think we do. I met with a car dealer just this morning, and our approach in auto has changed quite a bit, because auto dealers, gone are the days where you can put an ad in the newspaper for a single point dealer and be able to be that effective. Because when you really look at their area that they need to win in, they need to win in their backyard, in their prime zip code. So, our approach there is we look at zip code by zip code that are important to a dealer. We look at how they're performing compared to their key competitors, and then we create customized zip by zip media strategies for an auto dealer that are going to have the right message based on the vehicle that they're most likely to sell in that particular zip code. And it may be a mobile strategy for one. If it's a younger audience or younger car, right. We may develop a mobile strategy and reach people in that zip code, from a mobile standpoint. It could be email, it could be a print product in a specific zip code. Yep. If the demographic that they're looking to sell to is an older demographic, and then we back into creating the right platform to deliver it on, and then we also, from a messaging standpoint, we create a custom messaging standpoint that's a message that's going to most resonate with that audience. Yep. So it's a different approach for us. Yep. In Journal Sentinel, you touched on the reach. It's not just in Milwaukee, southeastern Wisconsin. You guys have people reading it statewide. Yeah. What kind of role do you see the Journal playing in kind of the branding of Milwaukee as a city as far as tourism goes? I think we have a role in that. Our coverage, and again, when you look at there's statewide coverage, but we also look at with the Packers, we get kind of worldwide coverage. We have people all over the country that get Packer Plus, which is a weekly Packer section, print section that we publish on a weekly basis. Yeah. When you look at our Packer coverage online, there's a high percentage of people that are right here in southeast Wisconsin, but when you look at who's truly coming into our Packer coverage, Packer have a worldwide following. Yeah. So we reach people a lot. The branding of Milwaukee a lot of times may come with the branding of our sports teams as well. Right. And then there's also obviously the messaging on the city and what's going on in the city. Summerfest is getting ready to celebrate its 50th anniversary. That'll be a big deal from a news standpoint that we'll be promoting, and we'll be covering that both from an advertising standpoint as well as from an editorial standpoint. So and Summerfest has probably a 3 to 4 state area that it primarily pulls in.
Yep.
But people will be coming to us, I'm guessing, for a lot of the content surrounding things like that.
Right.
So.
Right. Let's change the subject. So you've done 2 Ironmans.
Yeah.
I think my dad's also done 2 or 3, and I saw him train and thought he was crazy. When did you do this, and why did you get into it?
So I did my first one in 2008. I did it on a Trek Equinox
so pretty
11.
recently.
Yeah, I did it on a Trek Equinox 11. So the bike was built right up in Waterloo.
I'm sure Trek will appreciate that plug.
They want to sponsor me for another bike. I'll come out of retirement. I'll do another one. No, I'm not retired.
They could be watching right now.
I'd love it if they were. So yeah, I like the new speed concept.
Yeah.
So it's actually on my phone right now. Picture of the speed concept.
Nice.
So, I've done a lot of things. I've run a lot of different races, and I did a sprint triathlon in October.
Yeah.
October of 2007, and I came home and signed up for an Ironman. I just said, I'm going to go big. I don't ever go small. So I said, I'm going to try to do the biggest thing possible. So I did my first one in 2008, and then I did another one in 2010. And then I focused on running for about 5 years and did Boston 3 times. And that was my next goal after Ironman, was to qualify and do the Boston Marathon, which was fun.
What was the most challenging thing about doing the Ironman? And what was harder, the first one or the second one?
Both were hard. The swimming, I hate swimming. So, and I hate open water swimming.
I get killed at swimming.
It was horrible. Yeah. My the first Ironman I did, and I'm a horrible swimmer. I get better as the race goes on. I'm a runner. Okay biker, good, decent runner, but my goggles got knocked off the first 50 yards of the race in dirty Tempe Town Lake. So I swam the entire 2.4 miles without goggles on.
I heard people are kicking you in there too.
Oh,
it's like throw 1,000
well, I got elbowed in the face,
time.
and they knocked my goggles out off, and they sank to the bottom of the lake. So that was the worst part, was swimming. Once I was out of the water, I was fine.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I did 1 marathon.
Nice. Which one?
New York.
I've never done it. It's on my bucket list.
It was fun. It was fun for a while. I was on a family vacation on New Year's. This was back. I did it in 2010. So it was the New Year's Eve before that, and that one's in the fall.
Yeah, it's a great race.
We were out drinking, and my dad, who's done several marathons, was like, "You got to do one with me next year." And I was like, "All right, I'm in." So started training for that. Thought everything was going good. Did like a 20-mile run before it happened, and then that was my first time ever going to New York. I hadn't been before that, and it's amazing because you start in Staten Island and then
see every borough there. Yeah.
Bronx, Harlem, Brooklyn, Manhattan. You're just going all around, and first 13 miles was amazing. It was so much fun, and then I grabbed him. I was like, "Dad, I can't fucking move anymore." Then he looked at me and he was like, "What do you mean you can't move? This is supposed to happen at mile 22." I was like, "I can't fucking move."
It's pretty early for the wall to hit.
The wall hit. I don't know what it was, and then it was a walk, limp, sprint, limp, sprint the rest of the way.
Wasn't our friend Ian training for a marathon, but he ended up just doing the half?
Oh yeah, that sounds like a typical Ian move.
Yeah.
Just, train for it and pull himself out for the half, but.
How'd you finish?
I cracked 5 hours. I think I was 4:55. Nice. I beat Jared from Subway before he was declared a pedophile. So that was a claim to fame, and then I stopped bragging about that a couple of years ago. But and then I'm currently retired from marathon running, but have a lot of respect for people who've done Ironmans because I've seen the work it takes to get put in there. Speaking of Ian, we do have some questions from the fans that I'd like to transition to. We'll start with Jimena. Top 3 things you've learned from being in Milwaukee so far, parentheses, besides meeting the coolest people in the whole wide world, winking smiley face.
Wow, I have no idea how to answer that.
You should just be flattered she asked it.
Yeah,
like that. That was very kind of her. To include the winking smiley face.
Yeah, that is nice to include the winking smiley face. I'm guessing Ian did not include winking smiley faces in his question.
No, and his is only 4 words. It's pretty lame. I don't know if I'm going to ask it.
Oh, you have to ask it.
We can ask it right now and just get it out of the way. It's, do you lift, bro, question mark.
Do I lift, bro, question mark.
Yeah. And I think we clearly know this guy lifts a little bit. Maybe not as much as Brandon Chalker, but...
No.
Okay, let's move on to Jimena. So... Top 3 things you've learned from being in Milwaukee so far.
Well, one, you got to drive a lot slower than you drive on the West Coast, and people actually stop at green lights a lot of times.
Yeah,
So-
we could have addressed that when I asked you what are the problems in the city that the city faces. Slow drivers.
Oh my
I get a
gosh.
little antsy behind the wheel.
Yeah, and the weather is interesting because people don't slow down with the snow, and I haven't driven in snow in 20 years, so it's been interesting driving in the snow.
Yeah.
So that's been interesting. And they do a good job of cleaning the streets off pretty well too. I'm shocked. Even flying in here, there's no delays or anything. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So the way that they do remove the snow. So let's see what other things learned living in Milwaukee. There are no down nights in Milwaukee. There's something going on every single night in Milwaukee. There's a happy hour every single night. I've got to pick and choose, how to cover each evening actually.
Yeah, I mean, my recommendation, what I've done is I try it because I don't, if I go to a happy hour at 5 o'clock, my productivity the rest of the night just is down the drain, even if I only have 2 beers. So I've learned to strategically schedule all my happy hours on one weeknight. So if there's an event on a Tuesday, I'll do like a 4 o'clock, a 5 o'clock the event, maybe a later one. So, and then
Smart.
Yeah, it's something I've adjusted to because you can get sucked into going out every night.
Yeah.
And that can be exhausting. But anyway.
I think I covered 3, maybe, I don't know. So
we'll give you a pass. Aaron Wagren asked, do you follow JS comments on Twitter?
I do sometimes, yes. Yeah, unfortunately I do sometimes. They're not always the kindest.
I've never heard of that account. I went on it before when I was putting the questions together.
Yeah.
I don't know who runs it.
Yeah, did you see some good comments on there? Every now and then on Facebook there's some fun comments too, so.
Yeah,
and I do follow those,
them.
and sometimes I respond to those too on JS Online.
Yeah, I got a laugh out of a couple of them. Some of them not so much. I'd give it a pretty.
People are passionate about the content. I mean.
Oh yeah.
Passionate about the content. Passionate about if their papers in the bushes versus the driveway, which it happens sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. When will you make your return to the hardwood at the MAC? And stop using your knee as a lame excuse.
Who asked that?
Brandon Shocker.
Brandon Shocker, okay. Soon. Tell him soon. It's going to happen really soon.
Okay.
So I'm actually going to be, the knee is feeling better, running again. So yeah, it'll happen soon.
I might get out there with you. I've been on the IR. I've been trying to rehab and get back there. So
yeah, I think I got 20 years.
He better watch out. Yeah, I'm 28 going.
Yeah,
on
I'm
like
47.
55,
So
yeah, I'm losing it. Okay.
It's interesting though. Last time I played with Brandon, I think my 15-year-old son, who was 14 at the time, kind of schooled Brandon but dunked on him. But he definitely schooled Brandon a couple times. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would think I'd be impressed if a 14-year-old schooling a grown man, but then you mentioned it's Brandon. So it kind of loses
Brandon,
a little bit of credibility. Your son may be a great athlete.
All my son really had to do was go inside the 3-point line because Brandon doesn't really often go inside that area there. So defense or offense. So yeah, it's called the safe zone.
Just hanging out in the safe zone. I could see that. Night on the town. You can only go with one person. Are you taking Ian Abston or Brandon Shocker?
Do I have to take either one? Can I stay home?
We can throw a wild card in there.
Can I stay home?
Throw Tracy Johnson in there.
There's all 3.
Slightly better looking than the other 2.
Absolutely, I'd probably go with all 3. I don't know if I could choose one of the 3.
Yeah.
So
Brandon, I got to give him credit. He makes it out past 9:30 p.m. Ian. That can be a stretch sometimes.
It could be a stretch with Ian. Yeah, and Ian just disappears in the like at 10 o'clock. Where's Ian? And he's gone.
Just the ghosting. Just a lack of respect.
Absolutely.
Lack of respect right there. I guess with all the final question, with all the new arena development, the new buildings getting, Northwestern, the streetcar, all these new developments going on in Milwaukee, is there a particular one that you're most excited about?
Well, obviously the entertainment district being right in front of us.
Yeah.
From a real estate standpoint, we're right there. And so we're excited about what that's going to bring. It's literally right in front of our building, everything that's being developed. So, we think we're in a really good spot right now. As far as being able to interact with the community, the question is what do we do, what do we do to bring people in?
Right.
We're in a building that is, I'd say it's outgrown us. It doesn't really fulfill our needs, so we've got to either figure out a way to make changes to our building or look at other options. But we love where we are right now. It's
That is a
perfect
great location.
Yeah, perfect location.
Yeah.
So and the Bucks are exciting right now. I think the Bucks are, a franchise on the rise. They're fun to watch. I think they're probably maybe a year away. Although I read this morning the Middleton's looking at February coming back.
Oh, really?
Which
that would be huge.
Huge because the Eastern Conference is wide open right now for the most part, other than the top couple teams.
Yeah.
So it's he comes back in February. We get on a roll. We could end up 4th, 5th seed, which may make a difference as far as in the playoffs. So
yeah, and they need a shooter.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're missing him. He was pretty much he'd guard the best player on the other team too. And if you get your best defender back, someone who can spread the floor, then Giannis and Jabari are going to be able to run even more wild than they are now. So
absolutely, yeah. Giannis is Giannis is the only guy that can take it. Not the only guy, but does a really good job of taking it the hole. But Middleton can really open that up a lot more. And create some more space for those guys.
Were you a NBA fan before you got here?
Yeah, I followed the Suns a lot. The Suns have been tough to follow because they've been so bad. They've got Brandon Knight now, and he's been a bit of a disappointment. He's not even starting anymore. He's coming off the bench, playing maybe 15 minutes a game.
He had some good years in Milwaukee.
He's a great player, and so he's, for whatever reason, fallen out of favor with the Suns. So, but
I'm excited. I've been a diehard Bucks fan since I was young in the mid '90s, and it was nice having that stretch in the early 2000s. But then it's been a lot of pain and agony since then. It's nice that they have two guys who are playing at an all-star level that are 21 years old.
Yeah, it's
so
incredible.
If you keep them together and healthy, they're going to be in their prime for the next decade.
Yeah, I grew up a Pacer fan watching Reggie Miller.
Nice.
Reggie Miller playing back when the Knicks Pacer rivalry was on. Those were some amazing games back then. Watching Reggie.
I remember going to a Reggie Miller Pacers playoff game at the Bradley Center. That must have been really early 2000s, late 90s, and the place is crazy when when they're doing good and they make the playoffs. So
can't wait for the new arena. New arena will be amazing.
Yeah.
So.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
On the
I appreciate it.
That's all I got.
Thank you.